viewers. And gonna get the Book of the Face up and going here. No bots in this part of Facebook. We don't do bots around here. So if you're looking for bots, you're going to be disappointed. We don't do bots. We could get the big screen going back here too. Something made some noise there. Okay. Do a little delete and building the billboard. Evening news, all right, all right. Do a little delete there. Post. Richard Slezak. Alrighty, welcome Facebook viewers and YouTube viewers. Richard Slezak here, bringing you the evening's news. Gonna start out with some weather after we get this intrusive. Your license has expired from Avast-free antivirus. Alrighty, never purchased one, but let's see, we got over Montana, northern Idaho, and northeast Washington. We have a lovely mauve pink. Winter storm warning. Then the Oregon Cascades, central Oregon, central Washington around Yakima, and other, well, Yakima actually. Well, okay, there's a lovely blue. Is that a hard freeze warning? Frost hard freeze watch. And, well, that's kind of a medium blue. So, yeah, frost advisory to hard freeze watch. Then there's a light blue in northwest Nevada. Rest of Oregon is clear. RIP current statement. It's not beach hazards. Freeze watch. Yeah, the severe weather statement or freeze watch. Now there's some dark blue, Mineral County and Lassen County, California. What's that dark blue? Freeze warning looks to be. Alrighty, then the North Sierras is continuation of the Cascades, and that looks like winter weather advisory. The North Coast and the Central Coast, all the way down into the South Coast, looks like it has a small craft advisory. The deserts, they're a nice brown, wind advisory and high wind watch. And that's over northern Arizona as well. Valley is clear, no peculiar activity going on here. San Joaquin, Sacramento Valley. Okay, we have 913 weather.gov, and that at 911 was YouTube, Facebook, and about 9:05 came actually about 9 o'clock. All righty. Again, this is the voiceofstockton.org. I am Richard Slezak. It is the Saturday Evening News. We're going to go to a local forecast, and that is for Stockton, California. Oh, my. At Stockton Airport, which is 37 degrees 51 minutes north and 120 degrees 21 minutes west longitude. Fair at 62 degrees. Humidity is at 52%. Wind is 17 miles per hour out of the west-southwest. Barometer is at 29.73. Dew point is 44 degrees. Visibility 10 miles. And let's go down the page some. And this evening it's going to be mostly clear with a low of 50 degrees. Tomorrow, Sunday, sunny with a high of 69. Sunday night, partly cloudy with a low of 50 degrees. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 69. Monday night, clear with a low of 48. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 73. Tuesday night, clear with a low of 49. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 79. Wednesday night, clear with a low of 53. And that is our weather. It's going to be clear through the week. And now for some sports reporting. Again, this is the voice of Stockton. Today is September 28th, 2019. And we're gonna bring you some sports here. Baseball season's closing up, and MLB.com. Gonna go Google searching and finding and bringing you the scores and standings. Whoop, where'd I go? We'll make adjustments. There we go. MLB.com. And milestone night for Verlander. Struck out 3,000th batter of his career, and also notched his first 300 strikeout season. All righty. Today's Saturday, and the top of the 12th. Oh my golly. From Pittsburgh, it's 2 up. And Boston, the Orioles beat the Red Sox 9-4 from Kauffman Stadium. Kansas City, the Twins beat the Royals 4-3. Toronto Blue Jays beat the Tampa Bay Devil Rays 4-1. In Toronto and South Chicago, the White Sox beat the Tigers 7-1. Scrolling down the page. Oh, it was a doubleheader. And the second game, the Tigers beat the White Sox 4-3. And the nation's capital, the Natties, beat the Indians 10-7. This afternoon at China Basin Field, the Dodgers beat the Giants 2-0. And Philadelphia, the Phillies beat the Marlins 9-3. And Corona Park, Queens, New York City, the Mets beat the Braves 3-0. And from the banks of the Mississippi, the Cubs beat the Cardinals 8-6. And schedule stats. Okay, let's just go to standings directly. 2019 regular season standings. Boom. Oh, what has been reported is that the A's will be hosting the wild card game for the American League. So apparently that's going to be coming this Tuesday evening over there on Hagenberger Road. All right. Now looking at the standings as of September 28th, in the American League East, Yankees have won 103, lost 58. Tampa Bay, apparently a wild card team, will be playing the Athletics. They're at 96-65. Red Sox are at 83-78. Blue Jays at 66-95, and the Orioles at 54-107. AL Central, Twins at 101 wins and 60 losses. They won the AL Central, followed by the Indians at 93-68. Chicago White Sox at 71-89. The Royals at 58-103, and the Tigers at 47-113. Long seasons. Oh my. AL Central, not a power division. AL West, Houston's in there all the way with 106 wins and 55 losses. The Athletics, yes, at 97-64. Yeah, they'll be hosting the Tampa Bay Devil Rays because they have a better one-loss record. Well, they're at 97, and Tampa Bay's at 96 with 65 losses, and Oakland's only got 64. Okay, then come the Rangers at 77-84. Anaheim Angels at 72-89, and the Seattle Mariners at 67-94, which is better than Toronto, Baltimore, Kansas City, Detroit. Oh my. Fifth from the bottom. National League in the East. Yes, it's the Braves at 97-64, followed by the Natties. They'll be in the wild card at 92-69. The Mets at 85-76. The Phillies at 81-80. Yeah, National League East, powerful division. And the Marlins at 56-105. Then we go to the NL Central, and we got the Cardinals on top at 90-71, followed by the Brewers at 89-72. Yeah, they'll be playing the Natties in the wild card in Washington. Chicago Cubs at 84-77, Reds at 73-87, and Pirates at 69-91. Then in the National League West, Dodgers at 105-56, Diamondbacks at 84-77. Yeah, they played good ball in September and going back into August. Giants at 77-84, Rockies at 70-91, and Padres at 70-91. So better than Pittsburgh and better than Miami, but wow, not much Yeah, long seasons for the Padres and the Rockies, although they played the Giants well. Yarn. Alrighty, there's the standings, and let's get this show on the road for our feature presentation. And let me take one thing down and bring up another. Got 9:24 here at the Voice of Stockton. And let me find looking for there's documents. Alrighty. There we go. There's my bit. Oh man, this is crazy. Getting it. All right. Bringing up the report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. All right, let me check out here how things are going out here. You still not left yet? Oh, well. Oh, we're loading out, Betty? Oh, okay. Haven't started the core of the show yet. Yeah, I can hold on that. Alrighty, folks. Yeah, Betty's in her loadout. Alrighty, folks. About to get started. Episode 19. We're going to tear right on into it. -09-09-28, comma, Saturday evening news about to commence in 3, 2, 1. All right. Good evening, folks. Richard Slezak here over the voiceofstockton.org. We're doing the episode 19 of the Mueller Report. It's a Saturday evening news. We got 9:27 here at the Voice of Stockton. And episode 19. And where did we leave off last time? Yeah, we're going to continue on page 190. Of the Mueller Report. And call this a show start audition. Get the fancy headphones on. And I'll just take the stand with me. Now if I scroll, oh, nope, need to leave the stand there. I got a big thumbprint on my screen. Oh no, kind of reminds me of a detached retina I got. It's been repaired, but my vision ain't the same in my right eye. And oh, thank God for Obamacare. Woo-wee. Okay, that's 184. That's where we were last week. Application to June 9th Trump Tower meeting. And went over that. Page 185. Thing of value element. And willfulness. That's on 187. Then 188, we get into a lot of harm to ongoing matter on page 189. And then more on willfulness on page 190, where we will continue reading. And alrighty, again, this is the Saturday evening news, where we bring you news in depth. And, well, this was dismissed by the Republicans and not too well told about by the Democrats. So to inform the public, I am just reading it out for replay late night once we start broadcasting. But this is history right here, folks. It's current events. And it's a pattern of behaviors that's ongoing. And so on our president, and I got this off the Washington Post that got it from the Justice Department. And I was able to load it down in a PDF. Generous of them, I should send them some money. Willfulness, as discussed, to establish a criminal campaign finance violation, we're reading from the top of page 190. The government must prove that the defendant acted knowingly and willfully. That is 52 U.S. Code 3109 D1A1. That standard requires proof that the defendant knew generally that his conduct was unlawful. Election Offense 123. Given the uncertainties noted above, the willfulness requirement would pose a substantial barrier to prosecution. Constitutional considerations. Finally, the First Amendment could pose constraints on a prosecution. Harm to ongoing matter blocks out the whole paragraph. Subparagraph 4, analysis as to harm to ongoing matter. And that's it for page 190. 191 is harm to ongoing matter. One paragraph. Second paragraph blacked out under harm to ongoing matter. Then we have paragraph number 4, or section number 4, false statements and other obstruction of the investigation. The office determined that the certain individuals associated with the campaign lied to investigators about campaign contacts with Russia and have taken other actions to interfere with the investigation. As explained below, the office therefore charged some U.S. persons connected to the campaign with false statements and obstruction offenses. We are on page 191 of the Mueller report. Overview of the governing law. False statements. The principal federal statute criminalizing false statements to government investigators is 18 U.S. Code, paragraph 1001. As relevant here, under Section 1001A2, it is a crime to knowingly and willfully make any material false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements or representation in a matter within the jurisdiction of the executive branch of the government. An FBI investigation is a matter within the executive branch's jurisdiction, United States versus Rogers. That was in 1984. That was settled. A lawsuit or a appealed criminal matter. The statute also applies to a subject of legislative branch actions, such as administrative matters and investigations or reviews conducted by a congressional committee or subcommittee, and that falls under 18 U.S. Code. And a federal case that was settled in the D.C. Circuit in 2004. Whether the statement was made to law enforcement or congressional investigators, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt the same basic non-jurisdictional elements elements. The statement was false, fictitious, or fraudulent. The defendant knew both that it was false and that it was unlawful to make a false statement, and a false statement was material. The case here was United States versus Smith, settled in the Ninth Circuit in 2017. See also Ninth Circuit pattern instruction number 8.73. Jury instruction was modified in light of a Department of Justice's position that the phrase knowingly and willfully in the statute requires the defendant's knowledge that his or her conduct was unlawful. In the D.C. Circuit, the government must prove that the statement was actually false. A statement that is misleading but literally true does not satisfy Section 101A2. And that was a case, United States versus Milton, settled in 1993, and another one settled in 93. For that false statement to qualify as material, it must have a natural tendency to influence or be capable of influencing a discrete decision or any other function of the agency to which it is addressed. And that was U.S. versus Gaudin and U.S. versus Moore, 1995 for Gaudin and 2010 for Moore, the cases. Continuing. Perjury. We're on page 192. Under the federal perjury statutes, let me check the electronics here. I'm my own engineer at this time. And seem to be doing fine on the... Okay. Yeah, that's all right. That's rather strange. I have... What the heck? Okay, that's in there. Okay. I see one bar going and then some other lines being drawn. I just want to make sure that that sound is... it's not recording something that is being emitted elsewhere. Alrighty. It is a crime for a witness testifying under oath before a grand jury to knowingly make any false material declaration. And that's in 18 U.S. Code 1623. The government must prove 4 elements beyond a reasonable doubt to obtain a conviction under Section 1623A. The defendant testified under oath before a federal grand jury. The defendant's testimony was false in one or more respects. The false testimony concerned matters that were material to the grand jury investigation, and the false testimony was knowingly given. The general perjury statute also applies to grand jury testimony that has similar elements, except that it requires that the witness have acted willfully and that the government satisfy strict common law requirements for establishing falsity. And that is the two-witness rule and corroboration that it demands. Continuing, obstruction of justice. Three basic elements are common to the obstruction statutes pertinent to this office's charging decisions. An obstructive act, some form of nexus between the obstructive act and an official proceeding, and criminal, i.e., in other words, corrupt intent. A detailed discussion of those elements and the law governing obstruction of justice more generally is included in Volume 2 of the report. B. Application to certain individuals. Number 1, George Papadopoulos. Investigation. Time to start taking some notes here. 191 is on overview of false statements, laws, and court decisions. Going to 192, we got perjury and obstruction of justice. Of justice. Okay. And George Papa Dop Po O-U-L-O-S. Investigators approached George Papadopoulos for an interview based on his role as a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign and his suggestion to a foreign government representative that Russia had indicated that it could assist the campaign through the anonymous release of information damaging to candidate Clinton. On January 27, 2017, Papadopoulos agreed to be interviewed by FBI agents who informed him that the interview was part of the investigation into the potential Russian government interference in the 2016 presidential election. During the interview, Papadopoulos lied about the timing, extent, and nature of his communication with George Mifsud, Olga Polanskaya, and Ivan Timofeev. With respect to timing, Papadopoulos acknowledged that he had met Mifsud and that Mifsud told him Russians had dirt on Clinton in the form of thousands of emails. But Papadopoulos stated multiple times that those communications occurred before he joined the Trump campaign and that it was a very strange coincidence to be told of the dirt before he had started working for the campaign. This account was false. Papadopoulos met Mifsud for the first time on approximately March 14, 2016, after Papadopoulos had already learned that he would be a foreign policy advisor for the campaign. Mifsud showed interest in Papadopoulos only after learning of his role on the campaign, and Mifsud told Papadopoulos about the Russians possessing dirt on candidate Clinton in late April 2016, more than a month after Papadopoulos had joined the campaign. All right, there's the gist of it. Mifsud told George Russia had Clinton emails for 2016. George joined campaign 3/2016. Alrighty. On to page 193. And he had been publicly announced by candidate Clinton. And he was convicted on October 5th, 2017. Papadopoulos also made false statements, or the charges were filed. Statement of offenses was filed. Also made false statements in an effort to minimize the extent and importance of his communications with Mifsud. For example, Papadopoulos stated that Mifsud a nothing, that he thought Mifsud was just a guy talking up connections or something, and that he believed Mifsud was BSing, to be completely honest with you. In fact, however, Papadopoulos understood Mifsud to have substantial connections to high-level Russian government officials, and that Mifsud spoke with some of those officials in Moscow before telling Papadopoulos about the dirt. Papadopoulos also engaged in extensive communications over a period of months with, Mifsud about foreign policy issues for the campaign, including efforts to arrange a history-making meeting between the campaign and Russian government officials. In addition, Papadopoulos failed to inform investigators that Mifsud had introduced him to Timofeev, the Russian national who Papadopoulos understood to be connected to the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, despite being asked if he had met with Russian nationals or anyone with a Russian accent during the campaign. Papadopoulos also falsely claimed that he had met Polanskaya before he joined the campaign, and falsely told the FBI that he had no relationship at all with her. He stated that the extent of their communication was her sending emails, just, "Hi, how are you?" That's it. In truth, however, Papadopoulos met Polanskaya on March 24, 2016, after he had joined the campaign. He believed that she had connection to high-level Russian government officials and could help him arrange a potential foreign policy trip to Russia. During the campaign, he emailed and spoke with her over Skype on numerous occasions about the potential foreign policy trip to Russia. Oh my. Yeah, George and oh my, can't have that blown away. Yeah, this is on 193. George and Polanskaya. Most immediately, those statements hindered investigators' ability to effectively question Mifsud when he was interviewed in the lobby of a Washington, D.C. hotel on February 10, 2017. Okay. See government sent memo at 6 United States versus George Papadopoulos, and that was in the case filing date August 18th, 2017, document 44. During the interview, Mifsud admitted to knowing Papadopoulos and to having introduced him to Politskaya and Timofeev. But Mifsud denied that he had advanced knowledge that Russia was in possession of emails damaging to candidate Clinton, stating that he and Papadopoulos had discussed cybersecurity and hacking as a larger issue, and that Papadopoulos must have misunderstood their conversation. Mifsud also falsely stated that he had not seen Papadopoulos since the meeting at which Mifsud introduced him to Politskaya, even though emails, text messages, and other information showed that Mifsud met with Papadopoulos on at least 2 other occasions, April 12th and April 26th. George and Mifsud met for 12 and 4/26 and in March. In addition, Mifsud omitted that he had drafted or edited the follow-up message that Politskaya sent to Papadopoulos, knowing that the initial meeting and that, as reflected in the language of that email change, "Baby, thank you," Mifsud may have been involved in a personal relationship with Politskaya at the time. The false information and omissions in Papadopoulos' January 2017 interview undermined investigators' ability to challenge Mifsud when he made those inaccurate statements. On to page 194. Given the seriousness of the lies and omissions and their effect on the FBI investigation, the office charged Papadopoulos with making false statements to the FBI. On October 7, 2017, Papadopoulos pleaded guilty to that charge pursuant to a plea agreement. On September 7, 2018, he was sentenced to 14 days of imprisonment, a $9,500 fine, and 200 hours of community service. We got 9:51 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. We're doing the Mueller report, and we're on page 194, and 2 paragraphs are blocked out with no explanation. Now, Section 3, Michael Flynn. Good old Mike Flynn, General, a disgrace to the Officer Corps of the Armed Forces of the United States, agreed to be interviewed by, that's not in the report, that's my humble opinion of him, having been a reserve officer myself. Michael Flynn agreed to be interviewed by the FBI on January 24, 2017, 4 days after he had officially assumed his duties as National Security Advisor to the President. During the interview, Flynn made several false statements pertaining to his communications with the Russian ambassador. First, Flynn made 2 false statements about his conversations with Russian Ambassador Kislyak in late December 2016, at a time when the United States had imposed sanctions on Russia for interfering with the 2016 presidential election, and Russia was considering its response. Flynn told agents that he did not ask Kislyak to refrain from escalating the situation in response to the United States' imposition of sanctions. That statement was false. On December 29, 2016, Flynn called Kislyak to request Russian restraint. Flynn made the call immediately after speaking to a senior transition team official, KT McFarland, about what to communicate to Kislyak. Flynn then spoke with McFarland again after the Kislyak call to report on the substance of that conversation. Flynn also falsely told the FBI that he did not remember a follow-up conversation in which Kislyak stated that Russia had chosen to moderate its response to the U.S. sanctions as a result of Flynn's request. On December 31st, 2016, Flynn, in fact, had such a conversation with Kislyak, and he again spoke with McFarland within hours of the call to relay the substance of his conversation with Kislyak. Okay, here we go. 29 and 31, December 2016, Flynn communicates with Kislyak to be moderate in response to sanctions. And that is a big fat Logan Act violation. Ugh. Did speak with McFarland. Oh boy. KT, such nice people. Got to scroll down the page some. Oh, that's near the end. And he again spoke with McFarland. Okay, yeah, that's it on 194. Second, Flynn made false statements about calls he had previously made to representatives of Russia and other countries regarding a resolution submitted by Egypt to the United Nations Security Council on December 21st, 2016. Specifically, Flynn stated that he only asked the country's positions on how they would vote on the resolution and that he did not request that any of the countries take any particular action on the resolution. That statement was false. On December 22nd, 2016, Flynn called Kislyak and informed him of the incoming Trump administration's opposition to the resolution and requested that Russia vote against or delay the resolution. Flynn also falsely stated that Kislyak never described Russia's response to his December 22nd request regarding the resolution. Kislyak, in fact, told Flynn in a conversation on December 23, 2016, that Russia would not vote against the resolution if it came to a vote. Flynn made these false statements to the FBI at a time when he was serving as National Security Advisor and when the FBI had an open investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, including the nature of any links between the Trump campaign and Russia. Flynn's false statements and omissions impeded and otherwise had a material impact on that ongoing investigation. They also came shortly before Flynn made separate submissions to the Department of Justice pursuant to the Foreign Agent Registration Act that also contained materially false statements and omissions. Based on the totality of that conduct, the office decided to charge Flynn with making false statements to the FBI in violation of 18 U.S. Code. On December 1st, 2017, and pursuant to a plea agreement, Flynn pleaded guilty to that charge and also admitted his false statements to the department in his foreign agent acting as a foreign agent, the FARA filing act, Foreign Agent something act. And also Egypt. What's the Egypt one? Bring that up. Egypt resolution in UN. Flynn wanted a delay or no vote by Security Council. We have 10 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton, coming to you from the John Moriarty Studio, 231 West Bedford Road, Stockton, California. Alrighty, still on page 194, and we have the one and only Michael Cohen. Was the executive vice president and special counsel to the Trump Organization when Trump was president of the Trump Organization. From the fall of 2015 through approximately June 2016, Cohen was involved in a project to build a Trump-branded tower and adjoining development in Moscow. The project was known as Trump Tower Moscow. In 2017, Cohen was called to testify before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, both of which were investigating Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and possible links between Russia and the presidential campaigns. In late August 2017, in advance of his testimony, Cohen caused a two-page statement to be sent to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence addressing Trump Tower Moscow. The letter contained three representations relevant here. First, Cohen stated that the Trump Moscow project had ended in January 2016 and that he had briefed candidate Trump on the project only 3 times before making the unilateral decision to terminate it. Second, Cohen represented that he never agreed to travel to Russia in connection with the project and never considered asking Trump to travel for the project. Third, Cohen stated that he did not recall any Russian government contact about the project, including any response to an email that he had sent to a Russian government email account. Cohen later asked that his two-page statement be incorporated into his testimony's transcript before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and he ultimately gave testimony to the Senate Select Committee that was consistent with that statement. Each of the foregoing representations to Cohen's two-page statement was false and misleading. Consideration of the project had extended through approximately June 2016 and included more than 3 progress reports from Cohen to Trump. Cohen had discussed with Felix Sater his own travel to Russia as part of the project, and that he inquired about the possibility of Trump traveling there, both with the candidate himself and with senior campaign official Corey Lewandowski. Cohen did recall that he had received a response to the email that he sent to Russian government spokesman Dmitry Peskov, in particular, that he received an email reply and had a follow-up phone conversation with an English-speaking assistant to Peskov in mid-January 2016. Cohen knew the statement in the letter to be false at the time and admitted that he had made them in an effort, one, to minimize the links between the project and Trump, who by this time was president, and to give the false impression that the project had ended before the first vote in the Republican Party primary process, in the hope of limiting the ongoing Russian investigations. All right, we have 10:04 here at the Voice of Stockton. And let me take a momentary pause and check the electronics, as I am my own engineer. All right. How we doing out here? Alrighty-us. Anything on the... Okay. Radio DJ is operating, and so are the signal flow to the Whoop. We still loading up? Oh, okay. You're welcome, Betty. Thank you. All righty, folks. Let's see, what page are we on here? We're on page 196, so let me get a second sheet of paper going here. All right. Again, we are the Voice of Stockton. Public information. The Mueller Report. Here on September 28th, 2019. And I'd like to have a good heading on a piece of paper. Okay, we're at page 196, and the time is 10:07 p.m. Okay, given the nature of the false statements and the fact that he repeated them during his initial interview with the office, we charged Cohen with violating Section 1001. On November 29, 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty pursuant to a plea agreement to a single count information charging him with making false statements in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch in violation of 18 U.S. Code 1001. A2 and C. The case was transferred to the district judge presiding over a separate prosecution of Cohen pursued by the Southern District of New York after a referral from our office. On December 7, 2018, this office submitted a letter to that judge recommending that Cohen's cooperation with our investigation be taken into account in sentencing Cohen on both the false statements charge and the offenses in the Southern District prosecution. On December 12, 2018, the judge sentenced Cohen to 2 months of imprisonment on the false statements account to run concurrently with a 36-month sentence imposed on other accounts. Then we got a blackout, harm to ongoing matter, and that it completes page 196. Cohen sentenced. Convicted. Alrightius. And 197 coming right up. Harm to ongoing matter. 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, 3 paragraphs. Jeffrey Sessions. As set forth in Volume 1, Section 4A6, the investigation established that while a U.S. Senator and a Trump campaign advisor, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, interacted with Russian Ambassador Kislyak during the week of the Republican National Convention in July 2016, and again at a meeting in Sessions' Senate office in September 2016. The investigation also established that Sessions and Kislyak both attended a reception held before candidate Trump's foreign policy speech at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. in April 2016, and that it is possible that they met briefly at the reception. Alrighty. This is juicy stuff. Alrighty. 197, 198. Jeffrey Sessions. With that handsome man. Met Kislyak. Wow. Lippy Dippy. 7/2016 at the Repub Convention. And let's see, 9/2016 and Jeff S. Senate office. And when was that fancy thing? April 2016. Wow. At Mayflower Hotel. The office considered whether, in light of these interactions, Sessions committed perjury before or made false statements to Congress in connection with his confirmation as Attorney General. In January 2017, testimony during his confirmation hearing, Jeffrey stated in response to a question about Trump campaign communications with the Russian government that he had been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians. Oh my, January 2017 at confirmation hearings. Jeffrey said he had no contacts with Russians. In a written response submitted in January 17th, 2017, Jeffrey answered no to a question asking whether he had been in contact with anyone connected to any part of the Russian government about the 2016 election, either before or after Election Day, And in a March 2017 supplement to his testimony, Sessions identified two of the campaign period contacts with Ambassador Kislyak noted above, which had been reported in the media following the January 27th confirmation hearing. Sessions stated in the supplemental response that he did, quote, not recall any discussions with the Russian ambassador or any other representatives of the Russian government regarding the political campaign on those occasions or any other occasions. Although the investigation established that Sessions interacted with Kislyak on the occasions described above, and that Kislyak mentioned the presidential campaign on at least one occasion, the evidence is not sufficient to prove that Sessions gave knowingly false answers to Russia-related questions in light of the wording and context of those questions. With respect to Sessions' statements that he, quote, that he did, quote, not recall any discussions with the Russian ambassador regarding the political campaign, unquote, and he had not been in contact with any Russian officials, quote, about the 2016 election, unquote. The evidence concerning the nature of Jeffrey's interactions with Ambassador Kislyak makes it plausible that Sessions did not recall discussing the campaign with Kislyak at the time of his statements. Similarly, while Sessions stated in his January 2017 oral testimony that he, quote, did not have communications with Russia, unquote, he did so in response to a question that had linked such communications to an alleged, quote, continuing exchange of information, unquote, between the Trump campaign and Russian government intermediaries. Sessions later explained to the Senate and to the office that he understood the question as narrowly calling for disclosure of interactions with Russians that involved the exchange of campaign information as distinguished from more routine contacts with Russian nationals. Given the context in which the question was asked, that understanding is plausible. Accordingly, the office concluded that the evidence was insufficient to prove that Sessions was willfully untruthful in his answers and thus insufficient to obtain or sustain a conviction for perjury or false statements. Consistent with the principles of federal prosecution, the office therefore determined not to pursue charges against Sessions and informed his counsel of that decision in March 2018. Yep. Sessions not charged based on plausible denial. Others interviewed during the investigation. The office considered whether during, this is through to 190, during the course of the investigation or other individuals interviewed either omitted material information or provided information determined to be false. Applying the principles of federal prosecution, the office did not seek criminal charges against any individuals other than those listed above. In some instances, that decision was due to evidentiary hurdles to proving falsity. In others, the office determined that the witness ultimately provided truthful information and that the consideration of culpability, deterrence, and resource preservation weighed against prosecution. See Justice Manual 9-27.220 and 230, followed by 4 lines blacked out, followed by grand jury something privacy, personal privacy, and 3 paragraphs, and that's it for 199. And 199, 3 blacked out paragraphs. And then on 200, what do we got? What do we got? Oh! Report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, volume 2 of 2. Page 200, volume 2. Submitted pursuant to 28 CFR Code of Federal Regulations 608C. Washington, D.C., March 2019. Release. Alrighty, continuing to March 10/19 here at the Voice of Stockton, and yeah, we started at 9:27, so we'll go through the table of contents. Introduction to Volume 2, Executive Summary to Volume 2, Background, Legal and Evidentiary Principles. That's Section 1A, Legal Framework of Obstruction of Justice. B, Investigation and Evidentiary Consideration. Section 2, Factual Results of the Obstruction Investigation. Section A, the campaign's response to reports about Russian support for Trump. Section 1, press reports allege links between the Trump campaign and Russia. 2, the Trump campaign reacts to WikiLeaks' release of hacked emails. 3, the Trump campaign reacts to allegations that Russia was seeking to aid candidate Trump. 4, after the election, Trump continues to deny any contacts or connections with Russia or that Russia aided his election. Section B of Section 2, Factual Results of the Obstruction Investigation. The President's conduct concerning the investigation of Michael Flynn. 1, incoming National Security Advisor Flynn discusses sanctions on Russia with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. 2, President-elect Trump is briefed on the intelligence community's assessment of Russian interference in the election, and Congress opens election interference investigations. 3, General Michael Flynn makes false statements about his communications with Kislyak to incoming administration officials, the media, and the FBI. 4, DOJ officials notify the White House of their concerns about Flynn. 5, McGahn has a follow-up meeting about Flynn with Yates. President Trump has dinner with FBI Director Comey. 6, Flynn's resignation. 7, the President discusses Flynn with FBI Director Comey. 8, the media raises questions about the President's delay on terminating Flynn. 9, the President attempts to have K.T. McFarland create a witness statement denying that he directed Flynn's discussion with Kislyak. Section C, the President's reaction to public confirmation of the FBI's Russia investigation. C1, Attorney General Sessions recuses from Russia investigation. Okay, 200I is table of contents. And these are interesting, though. Let's see, we have background, campaign responses, okay, what? Oh, don't like the windy. Bam. Okay, now we're on page 2 of the table of contents. 2. FBI Director Comey publicly confirms the existence of the Russia investigation and testimony before the House Permanent Subcommittee on Intelligence. 3. The President asked intelligence community leaders to make public statements that he had no connection to Russia. 4. President asked Comey to lift the cloud, quote unquote, created by the Russia investigation. Section D. Events leading up to and surrounding the termination of FBI Director Comey. 1. Comey testifies before the Senate Judiciary Committee and declines to answer questions about whether the president is under investigation. 2. President makes the decision to terminate Comey. Section E. President's efforts to remove the special counsel. 1. The appointment of the special counsel and the president's reaction. 2. President asserts that the special counsel has conflicts of interest. 3. The press reports that the president is being investigated for obstruction of justice, and the president directs the White House counsel to have the special counsel removed. Section F. The president's efforts to control the special counsel investigation. 1. The president asked Corey Lewandowski to deliver message to Sessions to curtail the special counsel investigation. That's on page 90 of volume 2. Just remember, volume 1 was 199 pages. If it's 448, so that's in total, so that looks like it's about 248 pages long total. F2, the president follows up with Lewandowski. 3, president publicly criticizes Sessions in a New York Times interview. 4, the president orders Priebus, that's Rents, to demand Sessions' resignation. G, the president's efforts to prevent disclosure of emails about June 9, 2016 meeting between Russians and senior campaign officials. 1, the president learns about the existence of emails concerning the June 9, 2016 Trump Tower meeting. 2, the president directs communications staff not to publicly disclose information about the June 9th meeting. 3, the president directs Trump Jr.'s response to press inquiries about the June 9th meeting. 4, the media reports on the June 9th, 2016 meeting. Section H, the president's further efforts to have the Attorney General take over the investigation. 1, the president again seeks to have Sessions reverse his recusal. 2, additional efforts to have Sessions unrecuse or direct investigation covered by his record. And that's section, that's page 2. And this is on president's efforts. And Roberts, terminated Comey, pressured Jeffrey, wanted to remove special counsel. Alrighty, folks. Well, we got 10:28 here at the Voice of Stockton, and like to do these 1 hour at a time, so we'll come back and resume on page 3I of the volume 2 of the Mueller report, and that would be 201, I guess you could say. It'd be 200 followed by 3 I's. So with that, we're going to sign off for this recorded portion that does get played back. Yeah, again, this is the voiceofstockton.org. Thanks for listening in and watching on YouTube and Facebook. So let me go over here and do the incidentals, these engineering requirements. Thanks for listening. This has been Richard Slezak and the Saturday Evening News. Alrighty, one down. Okay, folks, on Facebook and YouTube, I'm going to put the shutdown on you.